Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to our Nifty 50 analysis webinar. So, if you just simply look at the things that have been happening over the past few weeks, आपको पता होगा कि a lot of developments have happened on the geopolitical front. So, सबसे पहले अगर मैं बात करूं तो जब से Donald Trump has taken the oath and come in as the POTUS, he has been very volatile about tariffs on Mexico, on China, on Canada, and all those trading partners. And this has created a lot of uncertainty among the investors. Now, ये main reason इसलिए हो रहा है कि so traders जब भी they enter into a position, they look for stability. But जब भी एक थोड़ा ऊपर नीचे हो जाता है with regards to policies or with regards to tariffs, it creates a bit of uncertainty because companies जो है उसका prospect भी change हो जाता है, उन लोग का input cost बढ़ता है, उन लोग का export import जो है, trades जो है उन लोग के वो hamper हो जाते हैं. So it creates a lot of uncertainty, and this generally creates a scare or a fear in the traders or the investors. So ये जो पिछले एक डेढ़ हफ्ते में जो आप volatility देख रहे हो, this is majorly because of that. And one of the major things that happened yesterday evening was Donald Trump coming in front of the media and outright telling or agreeing to the possibility of a possible recession this year. And this has created a mayhem. अगर आप US markets in general देखोगे, they have been hammered. अगर आप S&P देखोगे, S&P 500 अगर आप देखोगे, कल के सेशन में it was down about 2.7%. Nasdaq अगर आप देखोगे तो down approximately 4%. Now these are big moves. And if you observe the size of the candles and all, ये जिस तरह से gap लेकर नीचे गया है, there has been a lot of volatility. And ये हुआ US markets. And after the US markets ended, and this morning अगर आप देखोगे उसका एक spillover effect आया in the Asian markets early this morning. And if you see the Japanese market, the Nikkei was down. It at least opened lower, but then there was a recovery. But then in Hang Seng, अगर आप देखोगे, again opened lower, and then there was a recovery. Same thing with Kospi. And GIFT Nifty भी सुबह यही बता रहा था कि it is going to open on a negative note. And the Nifty followed the GIFT Nifty as usual. And अगर आप देखोगे यहाँ पर opening में, if you compare the current open with the previous session's close, we opened lower by approximately 115 points. Whilst there was a strong recovery, that's a very different story. But that negative sentiment from the US markets, उसका the spillover effect out to the Asian markets that was there. And then उसका एक effect हम लोगों को Nifty पर भी दिखाई दिया. जो सेक्टर पर इसका परफॉर्मेंस रहा है वो हम लोग आपको आगे वेबिनार में बता देंगे. बट देन फॉर नाउ वी आर एबल टू सी दैट आफ्टर ओपनिंग लोअर बाय अप्रोक्सीमेटली 115 पॉइंट्स at the moment the benchmark Nifty index is trading at around 22,500 zone. अभी पॉइंट वाइज में बोलूं, when compared to the previous session close, we are just up 40 points. But अगर आप सेशन लो से देखोगे, which was registered in the initial ticks itself, वहां से अगर आप देखोगे सेशन लो for your reference was around 22,314, 315 के पास. ये वहां से अगर आप अभी का पोजीशन देखोगे 22,500, we are up approximately 180 points. So that's a fair bit of recovery. And the recovery is actually majorly backed by, I'll just show you the sectors which are actually backing this recovery. And just give me a second. Yeah. So if you look at the sectors, अगर आप general breadth अगर देखोगे of the 12 sectors that we think move the market, 7 sectorial indices at the moment are trading in positive. And जो major beneficiary रहा है, that is realty, which is up approximately or probably a notch below 4%. So 3.9% to be very precise. But nonetheless, this is one of the biggest gainers in today's session. अगर उसको follow, something that is following it is Nifty Financial Services, Nifty Metals, and Nifty Pharma. Now, in such a market scenario also, we have a bit of losers, and we have Nifty Private Banks, the Nifty IT and Bank Nifty in general. So lenders जो है private banks and the banking space in general for the day is not doing well. So we'll quickly run through the analysis of Nifty. So if you see after testing a low of about 21,960, now bear in mind ये levels, if you quite closely follow the podcast that is put out every morning, so ये levels उसमें कहीं ना कहीं आपको mention दिखाई देंगे. And वहाँ से we saw a 4 day streak of positive moves. And then there was a bit of profit booking in yesterday's session after the index tested around 22,700. From there, the spillover effect today, we have a negative open, and then वहाँ से हम लोग को recovery दिखाई. So what does this mean for the market in general? या अगर यहाँ से मुझे अगर ट्रेंड देखना है, एनालाइज करना है, what does this really mean? So for starters, what you see on the chart is basically three exponential moving averages, 5, 13 and 21. अभी इसके पीछे का जो लॉजिक है वो मैंने आपको पहले भी एक्सप्लेन किया है. So if you are new to this webinar, what I would suggest is or what I have been suggesting is always look out for something that works for you and is logical at the same point. Okay. So when I'm looking at a 5-day exponential moving average, I'm basically looking at the average of 1 week. When I'm looking at the 13-day, it's half a month. 21-day is approximately 1 month. So इसके पीछे का जो लॉजिक है वो आपको समझना है कि अगर आप कोई टेक्निकल इंडिकेटर यूज कर रहे हो तो क्यों कर रहे हो. So my logic of using a 5, 13, 21 or 3 exponential moving averages is this. Now, whenever you're using 3 exponential moving averages, one is basically the slowest moving average. In this case, it is the 21. One, it's a mid. It's a middle. It's a midway. That is 13 in this case, and another one is the fast, which is the 5-day exponential moving average. So the fast moving average often responds to price changes really quickly. And now in this case, the 5-day will respond really fast, 13-day will follow, and 21-day will be the slowest to respond. So major trend आपको देखना है, you look at the 21-day exponential moving average, but short-term trend आपको देखना है, you look at the 5-day exponential moving average. अभी यहाँ पर अगर आप देखोगे, today morning we opened, yesterday's session, we took a resistance around I just removed these markings, and you will see that yesterday's high was actually very close to the 21-day exponential moving average. Or exponential moving average, I'll be using EMA instead of exponential moving average. So 21-day EMA के पास उसने resistance लिया, and this morning we opened below the 5-day, but as of now we are finding some hurdle around the 13-day. But nonetheless, अगर आप देखोगे, in general there seems to be a bit of positivity as of now. As of now, we're both off because as of 3 o'clock, because there can be developments that happen in the coming 30 minutes. But nonetheless, as of now, we are placed above the 5 days. So, there is a bit of bullish sentiment in the index in general for now. Then, if you look at the general chart since the past 4 sessions, we have been quite positive. And if I was to look for resistances, the immediate resistances, my 21-day exponential moving average, which also happens to be placed very close to a cluster resistance at this point, is somewhere around 22,700. 21-day is placed around 22,700. So the cluster resistance is at 22,800. So the general zone of 22,700 to 22,800 is what I would be looking for an immediate resistance. And looking at the price action, आज के सुबह का जो गैप डाउन था, जहाँ से बाइंग आई, मतलब that certainly is some amount of buying interest near today's low. That is around 22,300. Now, if you also observe a particular candle का high वहाँ पे आ रहा है, which is around 22,200. So that zone of 22,300, 22,200 could be my support, at least for the short term, at least from the short term perspective. So broader range, if you ask me for the index or the levels that I'll be looking out for, is 22,200 on the downside, 22,700 to 22,800 on the upside. Now I'm using if the 22,700 mark is breached, then what I would like to use is basically a Fibonacci retracement level. Okay, now one thing to notice here is if we just plot a Fibonacci retracement from the 5th Feb high, that was 23,800 to the most recent low of 21,964, the level of 22,700 also falls at the 38.2% retracement level. Now ये Fibonacci retracement क्या है exactly, ये हम लोग आपको आगे के concept of the day में explain करेंगे. But for the time being, it basically tells you the percentage move that we could see just in case of resistances at particular percentages. Now these bear in mind are complex calculations and not something that I can cover at the moment because it is beyond the purview of this webinar, but certainly something that we'll cover in the concept of the day. But a cluster resistance somewhere in between 22,700, 22,800 tells a lot. So if this level is taken out, the next level that I could be looking is probably somewhere around 23,000 to 23,100. Now 23,100 ये जो zone है, ये 61.8% retracement level है basically of this recent fall, of the most recent fall, and 61.8% जैसे आपको पता होगा is considered to be very crucial whenever in most aspects of life. And उसके साथ ही साथ अगर आप देखोगे, there is also a multiple touch point level in this zone. Now अगर आपको ये याद होगा, we were discussing this level to be a bit crucial a few months back, in the month of Jan, when we were having the webinar. यहाँ पर अगर आप देखोगे, multiple touch points थे, and then it broke below that, and it was taken out as a false breakdown. वहाँ से थोड़ी recovery आई, and the moment that level was broken again, we saw a massive fall in the index. So जो 23,000 का जो zone है, it is also a round figure. ये काफी crucial होता है आने वाले crucial होता है, because it is a multiple touch point level, a very crucial Fibonacci resistance level, and also a psychological level or a round figure. So ये सारी चीजें जब एक साथ cluster होती है, the significance of that level significantly shoots up. So whenever you see this level, you have to be, whenever you come close to the 23,000 level, that is basically a level of caution, because it will act as a make or break level for the index. So now that we are done with analyzing what the charts are telling us, we'll quickly move on to what the options data is telling us at this point. So if I just go to the NSE website, type in Nifty, under derivatives, I select the option chain, and I look at the most recent expiry that as of now is 13th March. I quickly scrolled down just to see accumulation कहाँ पर है. So calls में अगर आप देखोगे, it is around 22,600, 22,700. 22,700 has the highest high. So remember that zone of 21-day exponential, 21-day EMA, and the 38.2% retracement level of the entire fall. So that is a level that the traders are very closely watching. And जैसे ही अगर उसके ऊपर गया, the next major accumulation I'm seeing is around 22,900. So the levels that were shown on the charts are being reinforced with the OI data. So the levels that you have to very closely watch immediately for on the upside is 22,700, followed by 22,900 and 23,000. अभी पुट साइड पे देखते हैं कि ओपन इंटरेस्ट एक्यूमुलेशन मेजरली कहाँ पर. सो ऑब्वियसली व्हेन यू आर लुकिंग एट व्हेन द इंडेक्स इज ट्रेडिंग अराउंड 22,500, 22,600, 22,500 is considered to be the most active, because it is very close to the ATM. So I'll just dig a bit deeper, and 22,400 and 22,300 at the moment are the level fact traders strictly monitoring very closely. And the rates zone जो है is something that we saw in the charts. So broadly, the product range for the index that I could be looking at is probably 22,300 and 22,700 on the upside. And if at all we break about 22,700, then we might see levels of 23,000. Now, one thing that I would like to reiterate here is more whatever analysis we are doing is basically for educational purpose. And जैसे आपने हमारा disclaimer भी देखा होगा कि it is only for educational purpose. We are just trying to show or showcase what the indicators actually, how the indicators actually react whenever the prices are turning, or how the prices react whenever they come very close to an exponential moving average and all those things. One thing, the most important thing to remember at this point of time is the global, scenarios are very volatile. And as a situation where things will happen at, times when our markets are shut. So you will not be, as a retail trader, will not be able to react to those sort of global developments. So one thing that I always recommend traders, always the short-term traders, or anyone who is there in the market at this point of time, one thing that I always recommend is having a very strict stop loss. Once you have the stop loss, just also keep one thing in mind: during volatile situations, the best thing to do is square off a position before going off to sleep, because ये जो भी आपको global markets में या any sort of comments by Trump or by Elon Musk, they affect the market big time. And ऐसे time पर if you can track the news, you can track everything, and it will be like having your hands tied. I mean, it will be like a sailor telling water everywhere, but not to drink. So ऐसे situation हो जाएगा wherein you see what is going to, what is happening, and you know how our markets are going to react. But then you cannot do anything about it because markets are shut at that point. So instead of carrying the positions, my suggestion would be to keep them intraday and during the day also, because of the volatility or because of the volatile nature of the geopolitical developments or whatever is happening globally with regards to times, with regards to, the porters coming in and talking about the possibility of a recession, everything. My simple suggestion would be to keep your trades intraday. See, it's ऐसा नहीं होगा कि आज अगर आपका पैसा नहीं बना तो कल मार्केट बंद नहीं हो रहा है. You will get opportunities tomorrow also. But if you lose your capital, getting back to that capital or getting back to that break even is a task. So with that, I would like to conclude today's session. I hope today's session was a bit informative. And also, over the weekend, I had a bit of time and I was going through a few YouTube videos and I came across a very common, argument of between fundamentals and technicals. And there was a guy who was explaining as to why technicals don't work. So, why looking at charts is basically something like voodoo. But the guy explained that, whenever an analyst looks at a chart, they're basically looking at the prices and trying to predict the future prices. So one thing that I would like to clarify at this point is, I mean, I'm pretty sure that people, who have been practicing technical analysis would disagree. Yes, prices are important. Yes, so अगर मैं यहाँ से देख रहा हूँ कि पिछले 3 दिनों में नीचे गिर रहा है, the only conclusion that I can make is the trend is down. But unless and until you understand the psychology of the traders at a particular price, technical analysis is rendered useless. So whenever you're looking at a chart, it is not only the candles, it is not only the indicators, it is also the psychology. It is also the way the traders are reacting at a particular price. It is the way, I mean, see, for example, यहाँ पर अगर आप देखोगे at 22,700, one might, जब ये 22,700 जा रहा था, one might very well look at, the trend of the past 5 days and say that, the overall trend is bullish, I'm going to go long. But then there is this long upper wick of this candle. Upper wick ये बोलता है कि वो level पर the traders are no longer comfortable, initiating fresh longs, or the longs at this point are actually squaring off their position. And ये candle के पहले वाला भी अगर आप candle देखोगे, वहां पर भी ये indication आया था कि we are probably in a square of phase or a profit booking phase. But होता क्या है कि people tend to have a bias. आप देख रहे हो कि पिछले 3 दिनों में काफी स्ट्रॉन्ग बाइंग है, आज के दिन भी बाइंग है, भले ही थोड़ा चल ऑफ हुआ है, पर ये कल के दिन में कंटिन्यू होगा. It might or might not happen. Technical analysis is always a probability game. But what you have to master when you're looking at charts is basically this: you should be able to understand the psychology. You should be able to understand what the traders are doing. That is why we are, continuously conducting these sessions. That is why I tell you, whenever you're looking at charts, whenever you're applying indicators or moving averages down the road, then just make sure you understand the logic behind that particular indicator. You understand the logic as to why they are using a 21-day exponential moving average and not a 21-day simple moving average. Or instead of using a 21-day EMA, why are you not using a 50-day EMA? So the main point that I want to make here is there are a few hundred technical indicators available, and then you can add another factorial to it of the combinations and permutations that you can do with all these indicators, the kind of tweaking you can do with these indicators. What I want to emphasize here is the significance of understanding what you're doing. If at any point of time you are looking at an indicator and आपको वो समझ में नहीं आ रहा है, and अगर default setting डालकर उसको चला रहे हो just based on some book that you read or some video that you saw, eventually you are bound to fail. So for example, another classic example is RSI. RSI में लोग ये बोलते हैं कि overbought है तो I will be selling off. Yeah, I'll be squaring off my position, or sold, I'll be initiating a new position. But then one thing that the traders miss is something called as a range shift. So you look at range shift to know whether the overall regime is changing. Or आपका, RSI is moving between 40 and 80 continuously. Every time it is coming to 40, it is going higher to 80. And every time, the prices are correcting, it is stopping at 40 and then again turning up. But the overall regime might be positive. But अगर आपका वो shift हो रहा है, it is going below 40 and now it is moving between 60 and 20 or 60 and 10. मतलब your regime has shifted, it has come down. Another common misconception is that, it is always a long signal if you see an oversold zone. But most of these books tell you that oversold will remain oversold for a while, overbought will remain overbought for a while. So these are all, minute details that traders tend to miss, and then you have these sort of videos coming in that are crashing technical analysis. Again, I'm not here to, justify technical or fundamental analysis. I am just here to give you a brief idea as to what technical analysis really means. So that's it from my side. Thank you all for joining in. I'll see you in the next webinar. Till then, as I mentioned, make sure you trade safe.
Investments in the securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.